Hi, everyone. I'm Clara, Chief Empowerment and Partnerships Officer at Marber Security. Welcome to the Authenticity Journey. Co hosting with me today is Marlon Bermudez, founder and VCISO at Marber Security. Today's guest is Danielle Patterson, and the founder and CEO of Family Office Access. She's reshaping how capital connections are made, not through flashy pitches or spreadsheets, but through shared values and trust. From managing an art gallery to building a global platform, Danielle brings clarity, heart, and strategy to a world that often forgets the power of human connection. Danielle, welcome to the Authenticity Journey. It's such a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you, Clara, and thank you, Marlon. Thank you for having me. I'm excited for our conversation and love what you guys are doing with the authenticity journey.
Thank you. Well, Danielle, would you share a little bit more about yourself? I know I've shared a little bit, but there's always so much more.
Oh, yes, there's always, a backstory to everything. So I am a mother of three. I live just outside Charleston in South Carolina, a beautiful place called Seabrook Island. And my journey to becoming an entrepreneur, I often joke, was an accidental one. My husband, Warren Patterson, is the true entrepreneur. He always sees through a lens of opportunity, and we have a very collaborative relationship. He's a co-parent, we're true partners in life, but interesting, his parents were entrepreneurs. He came here from South Africa. And so again, speaking to opportunity, he jumps at it. He feels like it is such a privilege to live here in America, and so he sees through a lens of, how can we jump at this? And so my journey of becoming the founder CEO was really first initiated through him. We moved from California in 2009 after the 2008 economy crash, and basically had all intentions of coming back to California, but ended up completely reestablishing ourselves, finding new careers. And it was pretty remarkable to see him. He had a landscape design business that, no homes were selling, no landscapes were going in. And that's really what led him to have a new business thesis. So he built remarkably a cloud hosting company that later got acquired, and then through his partnerships made 6 additional acquisitions, and he just recently exited. But in that journey, he thought, okay, what did I learn from that first business failure, and what do I not want to step back into? And so having a scalable, low employee count, high revenue margin was his thesis. And that's how he started that cloud hosting company. And in one of the acquisitions, he thought, I don't know where this partnership will lead. And so to hedge his bets, he struck up a few different partnerships, and Family Office List was one of those. And my own journey, you mentioned I had kind of out of college gotten my dream job managing the art gallery of National Geographic wildlife photographer Franz Lantin. And he's incredible. He travels the world. His passion, Galapagos, Africa, some of the farther reaching areas. And his wife was a videographer. And so they would leave, they'd go on expeditions, and there were different components. They had the licensing area, they had the gallery, and I managed the gallery, which was really fun. It helped me tap into my love for sales and working with people and managing their database and helping put together workshops. But again, when we left California, it was not easy to find an opportunity like that where we live, but seeing through a lens of, well, how do we reinvent myself? See it as a positive. I learned a lot about business, started a role in business development and marketing and sales. And basically when my husband structured that partnership with Family Office List at the time, just saw the opportunity. When I do something, I go 110%, and you make this decision in life, am I going to take a risk and pour that 110% into my own venture, or am I going to continue to build someone else's empire? And I think I really attribute a lot of my entrepreneurialism and really see my husband as a mentor in that way. But he's just always been encouraging, and never looked back. I was pregnant with child number 3 at the time, and I think as women, we often are given a choice to leave our jobs and take care of the children, or, to continue working and have someone else take care of our children. But I am a firm believer that you can have both. And so this kind of step into the entrepreneurial world was a way that I could make my schedule, I could answer to myself, and, I would never change it. I would never go back.
Wow, that's impressive. It sounds like you've been through a lot of different experiences in your journey to get to where you are today.
Yeah.
There's one thing I'm curious about. What has shaped you the most in your early journey, art or business?
I love that this business, this company, as my art form. It's just a new media. I think every day I get to show up with a creative lens of helping continue building and really transform this into a more effective solution. And so I joke all the time that building a business is my new chosen medium for art.
Okay, wow. That's so they walk together,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
guess art empowers you. And I see that you have that human approach as well. And that's what's making you stand out so much on LinkedIn. And that's how we got to know you, because you bring that side of you. And I think that probably comes from art. It comes from that other, artistic side of life, that it's closer to the human experience. And you were able to bring that into your business.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is I'm highly visual. We all have our own ways of seeing the world and learning. And for me, I'm highly visual, so I can see things, but I take notes, I write things down. And so my approach to what I do, provide data, was really kind of that same lens. I wanted organization of this data that when we first acquired the company, it was a static Excel list, and it served its purpose. Our founder was a successful fund manager and later evolved to provide many financial services to emerging managers. And, his prospecting list was a valuable tool because it took him years to establish that success and identify that family offices were a great resource of capital for emerging fund managers. But when I stepped into the role and really got to the heart of, well, how are people using this? And the marketer in me, what successes are we seeing with this? I need some case studies, and really connecting with the clients, being okay to hear bad feedback so that it could fuel me to do better. And in that, and having that, very visual personality, I just wanted to see the data. I wanted to interact with it. I didn't want something that was static and stale, because first and foremost, if I'm selling data, it needs to be well maintained. So my first hire was Elisa Morris. She's still with me today. She's a remarkable woman. She's also an artist, which I love, where our brains work similarly and we can kind of speak the same language. But she set to work in improving the quality. If I'm going to sell anything with my name on it, it has to have integrity. And it was such an extensive overhaul. I really think back to the early days, and I can't believe, that our minds speak the same visual language, but her attention to detail and the tediousness, I'm very thankful that's the part of her I could really rely on. And as we enhanced the data, I thought, we need a better delivery mechanism. And as we scale, we can't just rely on one person. We need to have a better system in place so that everyone can just engage and update the data in an organized way. So again, going back to that visual nature, it was like, okay, let me just orchestrate how this is all going to work. And we launched our first version of the platform in 2019. And it just has fueled from there. It's okay, well, now we've got the first problem of accuracy of data and a better delivery mechanism so people aren't working off of stale data. But while we're at it, if you're going through every line item and improving it manually, let's go further, because when we think about the approach, it's so personal in the world of family
Yes.
offices. No two are alike. And so we need to move away from this list of names on a paper that encourages a one size fits all spray and pray approach and create a tool, a resource that encourages, taking your time, thinking less is more, focusing on the values that these families hold, the way that they want to reinvest, so that then you can be strategic. So that's really, been the core of that next chapter and evolution of the business. And now I'm at a very exciting stage where, we're including AI. We're launching version 3 next
Oh, wow.
this month. I was going to say next month. But we're leveraging that technology to help go through all of that rich data, the description for every family office, the past investments they've made, how they structure deals, what stage, what check size. And so the system will do all of that, sorting and reading through profiles to actually make the recommendations of, here's the best fit. And it's hard. A lot of people say, I think I just did a presentation and it said 85% of the deals family offices conduct is through a relationship or a referral. And many families, co-invest and they do deals together. But what we're finding is in today's era, people are looking beyond their circles. They're looking for more deal flow. They're looking for opportunities.
Yes.
So finding a way to help with that, to help with really bridging the gap, is just a greatly needed area. The industry is still very opaque, and I think it presents a huge opportunity to not only help those searching for capital, but to flip that and to help the family offices who are looking for really impactful opportunities that align with their values and their goals. And a fun thing that I've noticed over the past couple of years, the family offices themselves are looking for each other. They either have decided to launch a fund to, continue funding their own portfolio companies, but to continue, expanding that thesis.
Right.
And they want to invest alongside other aligned family offices. Those are the best suited partners for what they're building. And same things, a lot of these families are highly entrepreneurial and maybe they've exited and don't necessarily need to start a new company. Maybe they've moved into a more philanthropic season of life. And if they don't see the perfect vehicle for their philanthropy, many of them just will build their own family foundations. But if a family has already created something, there's so much opportunity for collaboration. And so really bringing families together, I think, serves as a way to be more impactful. And that's something I'm really encouraged by, seeing the families building brands, collaborating with each other to make a greater impact.
And Danielle, you mentioned that family offices are normally looking to connect with themselves. And that's one of the things that we see in our clients as well. They normally search for communities, family offices like the Forge community, and just advisory in general. So we're definitely seeing that on our side as well.
Yeah. You think about their positioning and there's still a lot to learn. I sometimes will compare a family office to a startup in the sense that it is a business and there's many facets and there's still a lot to be done to help family offices work more efficiently and professionalize. And, you have the multifamily office model where you get families that are collaborating and sharing resources, but you still have a lot of single family offices that have the wealth to completely customize, their own bespoke solutions, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to want to collaborate or learn from others who have gone before them. And so, it is interesting to see the way that they turn to each other and morph. The Rockefeller family office was one of the founding single family offices here in the US, and they've recently evolved into a multifamily office now, taking those years of legacy and helping others with establishing their own processes. So it's really fun to see the way that that's changing. And, in this day, the cost of running a family office is expensive. So there's many virtual options or, outsourced chief investment officers or people collaborating or pulling resources. So it will be interesting to watch and see how the sector continues to evolve.
Wow. Danielle, I know you've built this successful platform. Was there a moment throughout this journey that you thought of giving up or just stepping back? Because I know it takes so much effort, and as a business owner, and you know how challenging and overwhelming can be to build something so successful that you have right now. So I know there's the beautiful side of the journey, but would you share with us the challenges that you have faced as you reached this success, and why you thought of giving up, and if you, as you know, you didn't give up. So what has made you remain strong and consistent and continue to believe on what you're building?
Yeah, that's such a great question, and a couple different answers. In the early years, I felt really privileged to be able to have something of my own, but it was a balancing act, and it dealt with, really finding time to create boundaries so that there was time for the family, there was time for work, and I've always worked from home. So you'll see in the background, I have curtains over the French doors. It's to have some boundaries even in my physical space so that I can cut off. And it ultimately comes down to me. And I am a workhorse, so it's ultimately up to me to create those boundaries. And so in the early days, just navigating that and finding my balance. I would say also in the early stages, I didn't love the business. When we purchased it, the quality wasn't great. I didn't feel great about necessarily just selling someone's data. And it was that, wanting to do good, not just by my customer who needed this data, it's a necessary, but wanting to do good by the families too, that just kept driving me. And I think, moments in where I felt like just giving up, I mean, I've self-funded. So all of my revenue gets reinvested into just building something better. But there will be seasons or challenges, or in the world of development, everything is supposed to take half the amount of time, or it ends up taking double the amount of time, costing double the amount of money. And those moments, get highly frustrating. And, we're working, version 3 is with a third development company. And so through those transitions, it's tough, the world of development, it's tough. I am not the technical expert. You really have to rely on the team and the people, and trust is such a huge component of that. But if you're able to find the right partners, you can get through it. But there are those challenging moments. And I think a pivotal moment for me that really changed my daringness, say, I know you've discovered me through my LinkedIn content.
Yes. And it was actually what caught my attention was your authenticity, was how personable you were, and how you share. Of course, you don't necessarily have to expose your entire life, but how you share a little bit of yourself and as a human and every single day. So I love it. I love the empowering messages. I think that's what caught my attention and Marlon's attention as well, because you can do sales, but it's so important to remind yourself and remind everyone else that we are more than that, and you bring a little bit of that on LinkedIn specifically. That's where we discovered and where we follow you.
And I personally like the approach that you have of building community, where you go and host these LinkedIn events and you bring a lot of people together, not just, across different industries. So we found that very valuable as well.
I'm so happy because for me, people say, find what you love and it will just find its way into your work. And I've always been just this advocate, this cheerleader for other people. It's really easy to give them the limelight and to elevate what they're doing. and I'm curious. I just want to learn. And being a mother of three and a business owner, it's not like I have endless hours to just sit around and listen to podcasts. And so I love audiobooks, podcasts. I'll listen to them in the car. My children probably absorb so much. And so those master classes and those lunch and learns, they were that initiative. You know, there's so many stories to be told. There's so many amazing people doing neat things. I would love to learn, and it helps me build a relationship with them, but it gives them the platform to really help our entire community. And it's so fun to see, not just during the conversation, the relationships I learn about the speakers, but then the conversations that are happening in the chats, and then the conversations that happen after. I think it's just a wonderful thing. And I think the big change in why I started to put myself out there, which can be very hard to do. You know, you're like, okay, I'm jumping in, here goes nothing. But once you start, I think people do respond to it. They want to know there's, you know, a person behind the company.
Yes.
And they want to know, you know, who you are and what you care about. And that, you know, it can feel scary, but you know, I lost my mom to cancer just under 3 years ago, and that realization that life is so short, you know, you kind of, why not put yourself out there? And so that was pivotal. That was about the time I started posting, and, you know, I would put my heart into it. And I think people respond to that. And it's not just about work. Yes, I mean, LinkedIn is a place for people to make work connections, but work is personal. It's very personal to me. I care deeply for the people that I serve, and I think that, you know, showing up in that way and what you guys are doing, it makes a difference.
That's what brings beauty into what you're doing. Actually, this is actually your entire power. It's all that it's what keeps you growing and alive. I think that you went through so much suffering, you know, from the loss of your mother, but with that, instead of drowning, instead of, you know, losing yourself, you built something amazing, and you're bringing people together. You're giving other people opportunity. You're not only growing your business, but you're also allowing other people to stand out and to be seen. And I think that's so beautiful. That's really, really nice. And it goes back to that perception I have about life, that when we come into good terms with mortality, we understand how temporary the human experience is, and we're really here for a short period of time. And as hard as it is, when we come into good terms with that, we actually start building something. We start living, right? Instead of sitting back and being afraid of whatever it is that you want to build. Like you said, it was hard for you to start putting yourself out there and showing up on social media, you know, and to just being seen by people all over the world. It's very hard. You bring a little bit of your vulnerable state, a little bit of your personal life, then your business, but you did it. You did it. And I think it was that probably clicked when you lost your mom, because it's that realization, hey, I'm only here for such a short period of time. Let me create something that's amazing, something that will enhance my life and the life of others as well, instead of sitting back and being afraid of, you know, expressing yourself and bringing all that you can bring into this life that you're living right now. So I love that, and I appreciate you sharing, because I think there's so many other people right now probably in the same scenario, maybe dealing with loss or any other type of pain, and maybe they can use that and in a way that empowers themselves, in a way that allows them to build something amazing from pain, from the uncomfortable feeling that we have when we experience something so shocking. So I love it, and that's why you're shining and becoming successful, because you're you get it. You know what's to be a human, and that's what brings you closer to people.
Absolutely. And you hit on something, it's sometimes the fear that holds us back. There's a lot of polarization in the world right now, and it drives us apart and it leads us to have conflict or to fear. And for me, my biggest regret in building my business, and something I would tell other founders, is to find community where you can connect and you can voice you asked what was hard. It's being a founder, it's hard, so find a community where you can talk about these things, but you can learn to find your own voice. And for me, as a female founder that, the accidental entrepreneur, I felt like an imposter for a long time. Who am I? I don't run a family office. I didn't come from the world of finance. And it was that moment in losing my mom and realizing life's too short. I have built something that matters. I matter.
Yes.
Maybe I don't look like others who are doing this, but if I step out of that shadow, you just have to break that imposter syndrome. And so that was, a very pivotal moment. And so for people in my footsteps, it's that discomfort is a sign that you're growing. And I wish that I would have stepped out of that shadow a lot sooner and sought community or built my own community a lot earlier.
Yes, because as humans, we tend to set ourselves back because it's uncomfortable to move forward with ideas, with dreams. There's that sense of, okay, am I enough? Do I have enough knowledge? Is there anything of power that I can bring to the outside world? We start questioning ourselves or even comparing ourselves with others. Maybe we feel that we don't have what it takes. There's something missing. But the truth is, everything we need is within ourselves, and we just have to believe in ourselves. It's not about how many degrees you have, how many amazing titles you have, or it's really about you. How much do you want it? How much do you desire? How much can you actually bring into life, into action? And it lives in us. I think we all have that imposter syndrome. At some point we question ourselves. And if you look out there, you start looking at other people, what they're doing. Oh my God, they're doing this. And they have this. I don't have that. Or, they speak so well, or they look amazing, or, they have such an outstanding resume, or, it's just background. And we start lowering ourselves down, and it's such a dumb idea. It's the idea of a fool. I know it sounds weird, but what's the point? It's if all the actual knowledge and power and ability to create and ability to become successful lives within ourselves, and you're proof of that. At some point you questioned yourself in your life, but you still did it. You said, right, there's no way. I'm just going to sit back and lose my opportunity to live and create, and you're doing it every single day. You're showing up as you are, with the beautiful things, the imperfections, the insecurities, whatever it is that happens within you, because it's not just you, it's all of us, right? But you're there. You're putting your face out there and you're going for it without fear. And that's empowering. And when you go back, when you think you're a mom of 3, and that's so beautiful, and that's a reason to empower so many other women's out there, because you're becoming successful. You're a business owner. You created this amazing platform, and you're doing it. And being a mom or having to lead a family and be there for your kids did not stop you.
No,
it didn't. And in fact, I believe that it actually keeps you going. It gives you the strength you need, because you look at your family, you look at your kids, and you're doing for yourself, you're doing for them. You want them to see the beautiful mom and strong mom that you are, and that will empower them in the future. So I think it's beautiful. I mean, Thank you so much for sharing all of that, because
Oh my
sometimes
goodness, of course.
sometimes people don't really get to know ourselves because we don't get the chance to speak about it, right? But once you do, it's so amazing, because there's so many others out there that had no idea, and that makes you even more successful.
No.
All those details of your life, all these things, all these the stories and experiences that you've had, it only enhances you and your
True.
business. So
One
That
one thing.
growth
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
outside of the comfort zone, because
Yeah.
if a lot of people, they wish that they could start their own business, they wish that they could travel, that they could change their circumstances, but they normally stay in this beautiful place full of sunshine that's called the comfort zone. But growth is really just outside of that, and it's scary, it's unknown, and there is a lot of risks. But there is a saying that I like, that if you're not failing, you're not even trying, and that winners are basically those that fail but try one more time. So we really appreciate, authentic stories, and we value your journey as well.
Oh, thank you. I love that approach. And so much of it is your mindset, I've learned. And the mindset can be very detrimental if you're limiting yourself with a scarcity mindset. And it's how you see yourself and how you embrace your unique attributes. For me, I'm dyslexic. I have ADHD. I am right-handed and left brain. So I joke that, this world was not really designed with me in mind, but those are now probably my greatest attributes. I work a little bit differently, so I work extra hard. I have such great work ethic because I've had to, growing up in school, it's not like they catered to that. So I worked extra hard, and now that's an attribute, and I get to pave my own path because it's my own business. And I think taking that unique approach, it's the strength, it's my superpower. So the mindset, if I said, well, I'm different from everyone else and I compared, I'd be seen through that scarcity mindset versus the abundance of, this is me, with all of these, flaws. No, they're actually superpowers. And so mindset is everything.
yes, what if the things that we're most scared about are actually our place of power? Everything we fear the most is our place of power. I try to remind myself every single day too, because I do fear things as well. I do find myself overwhelmed so many times, more than people can think. And I always remind myself that, everything that you think it's your weakness, it's your place of destruction. It's not, it's your place of growth. So you embrace it, and it's okay if it's seen. It's okay if it's noticed. If it's okay if I share at times, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's the beauty of it. Okay, it's like, it's me. It's who I am, and I'm not perfect. I'm imperfect, but that's what makes the unique person I am, the unique person Danielle is, and Marlon is, all because we embrace those those small imperfections that we call imperfections. But again, like you said, it's our place of power, it's our place of growth. So you gather all those imperfections. Okay, I'm going to move forward with all these imperfections, and nothing's going to stop me. I'm not leaving those behind, because what if you try to leave it behind and then you actually lose your strength?
Yes.
You do, because you start removing everything. Okay, I can't cope with that. This is not me. This doesn't make me look good, or this makes me weak. Then you start leaving yourself behind, and then to try to become someone that you're not, and then you barely recognize yourself, and you can go out there and portray that human that you created, but at some point you won't be able to. And you will become overwhelmed, and you become mentally sick, physically sick, because you're trying to portray something that's not realistic. So it's amazing how we can just hold on to all the imperfections and the weak points we think we have, and the ugly things, and show up. And who cares? At the end of the day, it's our life. Like, it's your heart that's beating. It's your existence that's happening there within yourself, and you have to to make it happen. We tend to worry so much about what others are thinking, or even, on social media now, you post a video and then we worry about our appearance, or maybe we worry about something we said that didn't sound right, or, or maybe you look nervous or this and that. But who cares? It's
Right.
Why are we so consumed with the ideas that are coming from the outside when real human experience happens here inside in our hearts? And it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And that's how you shine. And I that's what I saw in you. I'm very I believe in energy, and I'm very, how do I say, drawn to the human experience and people that are real and authentic. And you can see that. So you bring that, and you bring that in a natural way. It's not like trying to show off or trying to be amazing or trying to be cool. No, it's me. Hi everyone, here am I. And that's what makes everything that you're building.
And Danielle, quick question for you. You mentioned that you had that you love listening and learning to books or podcasts. Did you have a favorite book or audible book that you've listened to in the past 5 years that you would recommend, either for personal growth or professional growth, for anyone out there?
Oh my goodness. Oh, it's such a great question. I actually dove in just yesterday, Orchestrating Connection. It's relationships in a tribal world. It's actually a book that was just released. I haven't finished it, so I feel like I need to touch on some others, but it's published by Noah Askin and David Homan, who I'm actually going to feature on one of our Lunch and Learns, because they are experts in building purposeful community, and the give, ask framework, and how when you give, it naturally comes back to you, and how you can build a trusting network through that approach. And so, yeah, I'm loving what I've read so far there. There's just so many great ones, definitely. Now I'm forgetting the name of it, but I read a really powerful book around the time that my mother passed away, and it was just, again, about grief and how we as a society view aging and death. And I was like, this should be a mandatory reading for everyone, because we just really don't talk enough about it, and it's something that is unavoidable for all of us. And
Yes.
if we had more healthy conversations, I think it would just change the way that we view and fear it. Yes, it's the unknown, so people fear, but it doesn't have to be that way. I think it can be approached much more healthily. And so I'll follow up with the name of that book. It was, I hate that it's escaping my attention, but it was a powerful one that really stuck with me, and that I recommend to anyone, if they're going through their own grief or losing someone. But also, I just feel like I want my children to read it.
Wow, that sounds like a nice book to read. Yeah. I love everything related to, aging, end of life, because it's something we don't talk about very often. And I think the way we grew up in society, it made us fear death, or have that sense that death is something that's supposed to be said. And I think that's why grief is even harder.
Yes.
It's hard. I recently lost my grandma too, and she was my everything.
Oh,
so I won't get emotional. She was my everything. And it's very hard, because it's like I haven't lost so many people in life yet, right. And I'm so scared. But now I have that sense like, okay, who's going next? Who's going next? I didn't know that feeling. So that's a new feeling to me, because I was very attached to her. So death is there. But right. you hear of other people, but you don't think it's going to happen to you or in your family. And then when it does, I don't know, it just, you start having that fear. Okay, every time I grab my phone, I'm afraid there will be a text that someone passed, or there was something bad happen. And it's very hard to deal with. So I've been trying to work in my brain to shift that idea of death, and to understand that, she lived a long life, and at some point, we have to go, and we don't know what's out there. But I do know in my heart that life goes beyond this physical existence, and that keeps me that gives me hope, that keeps me vibrant. I think it's more than that. But yes, I think it's hard because we don't talk a lot about it, and death is inevitable. It's going to happen, to people around us, to all of us. Of course, we want to live, and we are, but it's something that, again, it's inevitable, and it's there, and it's hard, and it hurts. I think that feeling that when you lose someone and they're just not there anymore, physically there, and you can't talk to them anymore, it's overwhelming. It feels, it's a horrible feeling. I mean, it's the first time I experienced it, and I didn't know how to deal with it. Quite honestly, the first moment I went in complete shock, and then right now it's kind of, I'm starting to talk about it, but at some point I wanted to avoid, because I didn't know how to deal with that. So just try to, okay, it didn't happen. Like, tell myself that it didn't happen, but in fact it did. So it's such a great topic, because
your human experience now is that much fuller, and yes, that it hurts, but at the same time, now when that happens to someone, I mean, I immediately thought of my friend who had lost her father, and God, I mean, I just had no idea, but now and you're there, and you're able to support. And what I love telling people who are still in that grief stage, which it never really goes away, you never stop loving and missing that person, but I, like you, believe that they are somewhere amazing
beyond.
Exactly. But what I love, and why I think you're so beautiful, Clara, is that grief just shows how much you loved, and that's a gift you would never trade. I'd rather feel that. Yeah,
I know. Grief is hard. It's just like letting go of someone who was there physically, who you could talk to, who you could share something.
Yes.
And then you suddenly find yourself not able to. And then what do? It's like, it hurts. It's a deep pain. But I think I'm growing from that too. I think every time I heard someone saying I've experienced a loss, I knew it. And, my background is in yoga and Reiki and everything that has to do with mindfulness. And I've helped tons of people move through emotional pain. But I don't think I really knew when it comes to death, like how difficult it is until you experience for yourself, until you feel it here.
Yeah.
And so it's tough. But I was talking to my aunt the other day, who's, it's her daughter, so it's even deeper. I mean, it feels deep to me, imagine to her. And I was telling her that I think when someone passes, I think there's this hole, like this hole inside, this emptiness within ourselves that we don't know how to fill it. So the idea is to fill that empty space every single day with something that's beautiful. Let's say flowers, but what's the flower of the day? Maybe a smile to someone that you thought you couldn't give because you're hurting so much. And then you smile, and then you fill it with a flower. And then again, what do I do next? Let's fill that emptiness within myself with another beautiful flower. What can I do today to put one more flower in that emptiness? And I think that emptiness slowly, with time, it starts growing into something beautiful, something that's going to bring beauty to our lives. Because if it's someone we love passes, I think what they really want is to see us shining and happy. If you're just suffering, imagine that they're out there just looking. No, it's not a good feeling. So let's make that empty space within ourselves from grief into something beautiful. Every day, put a beautiful flower in there, and a beautiful flower is an action to another person by smiling or doing something amazing or helping someone, or even doing something for yourself. I think that's the only way to healing. It's a little bit every single day, and then when you realize that emptiness is filled with beauty, and that person that you lost is there but just shining through you, if that makes
I love
sense.
that. It makes perfect sense. And that keeps their spirit, their energy alive. And I had to, I was like, I can't end this podcast without sharing the book because
Yes.
it's something. So it's Being Mortal by Atul Gawande. I was like, it's probably not going to be able to show. But I had to look it up in my Audible because I was like,
We can
we
put in
can't
the
end this
description the
without
name.
recommending that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was great. I mean, I've read a lot of amazing books, but that one was one that just has stuck with me, and I'd recommend to others, whatever stage of grief and understanding. But yeah, I love the way you see it, Clara.
Yes. Well,
And
thank you
for
for
me-
sharing.
Yeah.
For me, as we get older, we accumulate earned wisdom through all the easy things and the hard-earned lessons that we accumulate over time. And one of the things that help us create the authenticity journey is more of, there is intergenerational wealth out there, right? There is families and just individuals out there and companies that accumulate money to make sure that they're generating generational wealth, making sure that their next generation has is taken care of and everything is in place for them. But the word intergenerational wisdom came to our mind many months ago. And our question was, how do we help communicate that? We love building authentic relationships. We also love wisdom and just having deep conversations too. So the authenticity journey is all about intergenerational wisdom and transferring that to the next generation. So we really enjoy having deep conversations with, individuals in wealth management and leadership in general too, so that future generations can benefit from the wisdom that we have all earned at this time. So that's one of the things that reminds me of that.
I love that theme. And when we talk to Camille Homsey, you'll see he's incredible leader, and the way he engages the next gen and helps them become active participants and entrepreneurs within their family's wealth, it's so inspiring. So I can't wait to tune into the interview you have with him.
Danielle, what does being a mother, how has being a mother enhanced your leadership?
Yeah.
As you put yourself in this big platform, this community now as a leader, how does it enhance that?
Yeah. I mean, it's really transformed who I am. It's not just about me. It's something much bigger. And I am honored that I can be a financial contributor, but I also have a partner in Warren who supports and encourages me and celebrates my wins. And, through that partnership, we're able to have both. We're able to show our kids that they can create opportunities, that they can chase and create their dreams. You don't have to follow the traditional path if that's not your calling, but everyone will find their path. And so, yeah, being a mother, I think for me it's just my grounding. It's my why on the hard days. It's, this is not just about me or for me. It's for them. And, the relationship, the legacy of love my mom left behind and the person that she was, it's that driver for me. I want my children to have that as well. So
Talking about grounding, what grounds you when you feel overwhelmed? I think it's such a simple question, but everyone is curious about it because we're all, we all dealing with our own agitations. And I think learning more about grounding, whatever it is that could potentially hold us together, bring us back to our bodies and keep our health in place and remove that feeling of anxiety, that feeling of being, overwhelmed so what grounds you, Danielle?
All right.
Because you're someone who's successful. So coming from you, I
yes.
think it will bring a lot of value to this community.
Well, thank you. There are three things, and there's many things, but three that I can really say that I practiced on a daily basis. And for me, because of the ADHD, I feel like this sense of emergency at all times. Probably my anxiety is higher than it needs to be because I'm worried I'm going to forget or get distracted. And so my grounding, I start my day and I I'm a big note taker, and I divide this little sheet of notes in half,
Oh.
and I lead my day with what I'm grateful for and what I need prayers for and what I hope to accomplish and then what I have to do. And the biggest part of that is I have learned to give myself grace. I may not accomplish everything on this long list of to-dos, but it's okay. It's on paper and it's there. And if I lead the day with a gratitude and a prayer, it just helps ground me. And then beyond that, living in nature. We live in like this beautiful remote island
nature.
called Seabrook. And if I'm having a hard day, just step away, go outside, admire all the beauty that's right there. And it just helps as a reset. And then I loved hearing that you do yoga, Clara, because for me, movement of any type is my medicine. And starting the day with some form of movement, it's this natural endorphin and helps you kind of like, okay, just feel strong. So those are my three.
Yes, there's something about movement that just brings you back. When I reach high levels of anxiety, which I do, even though I'm a yogi, I've heard from someone, okay, if you're a yogi, how do you have anxiety? No, I do. And that's probably why I'm a yogi, because we all do. So it wouldn't be realistic if I said, no, I'm just a peaceful person and all the time and I don't have anxiety. No, that's not real. So there's something about movement. When you move, you just release so much that's bottled up in the chest and the heart, and then you suddenly feel more grounded. So it's a beautiful way to start the day or even end your day, whatever works best for you. But sometimes we're constantly like seeking for a way of coping with anxiety. I say, go move. Like either it's going for a walk or it's yoga or Pilates or dancing or just movements in general at your living room. I think that sets you free. That's the best anxiety medicine, because it's that energetic field in the body that's like blocked. As you start moving, you're like, oh, okay, I'm back. So I love that.
You realize sometimes you're like, I feel like I've been holding my breath all day, It's
Yes,
like, you're like, okay.
Yes, because we're doing and doing and doing, but it gets to a point that if you don't release, you're going to explode, and there comes that chest feeling. Okay, so now it's my time to let it out, because if you bottle, it's normal to get. This is what we have to understand. It's natural to have a level of agitation, of anxiety. It's natural. We all feel that, but it's important to have a moment in the day where you release it, because you don't want to go to bed with all that tension and all that overwhelming feeling in the body. So you want to release it so that you can bring yourself back and you have a physical body that's healthy, that's not, building any kind of physical illness because of your emotions. So you release. I love how you mentioned nature. I think nature is the biggest of all, because we're all one. We're connected to nature. Nature is part of us, and part of what we have removed a lot in this modern world is the contact with nature. We're constantly like office, building, computers, technology, but where's that touch with nature where you put your feet on the ground, like we are called earthing, like put your feet in mud, hug a tree, or just put your feet in the soil or grass. I love doing that. You feel good. Even kids, I know you have kids, but even in the past, kids were healthier because they would play outside in nature. They wouldn't have a cell phone. They would have that contact with nature. Nowadays, kids are anxious. They are stressed. They are overwhelmed. They need, early at a young age, they need psychologists, because where's the nature? Where's the contact with nature? We're missing that.
Exactly.
And that's so important. What time are you actually walking barefoot in the sand, in the ocean, or in the water, or or grass? Even if you don't have an ocean in your backyard, you can just put your feet in the grass outside, ground onto the soil, ground onto the earth. I do that a lot. I take off my shoes, even if I'm dressed in office clothes. If I feel overwhelmed, I'll park the car, and I've done so many times. I remember doing that in Connecticut, as if I was driving and I was feeling very agitated or
Yeah.
overwhelmed, I would literally stop my car and take off my shoes and would put my feet anywhere I could find grass and soil. And
amazing.
it would just
Must work, yeah.
re-energize me. Like it just grounds whatever comes from the earth. You're like, okay, I'm back. And I
Isn't that
didn't care if my feet
incredible?
was dirty. I just wanted to be, grounded. So I love what you shared. I think it's a great advice, and we could all use more of that.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad it resonates.
I don't even know how much time we have. I'm like, the conversation.
We have a few more minutes. But Danielle, quick question to wrap up on our amazing podcast session with you. What is the best piece of advice that you have received?
Ooh, the best piece of advice. I would say, honestly, in just thinking about my decision to jump into this world of entrepreneurialism, I mean, it isn't easy. It's not for the faint-hearted, but you can, carve a path of your own. And so for me, the advice that really my husband gave to me is you can have both. You don't always have to have black or white or one or the other. You can have both. You create that. And so that was really pivotal advice that helped me make that brave decision.
I love that.
Yeah.
Danielle, if you had to finish a sentence, at the end of the day, leadership is really about, what would you say? Because I see you as a leader, and I want to hear that from you.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, that is a good one. I could say so many things. I feel like for the topic of this conversation, it's about authenticity. It's about honesty. Honesty first with yourself. And then as long as you are being honest with yourself, and that authenticity, that honesty will shine and help others lead in a similar way.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Powerful. Empowered me. I love it.
Yeah.
It has been an amazing conversation. I think you brought so much wisdom, so much authenticity, specifically authenticity. I think it's so deep in you, and you shared so much with us, and with everyone who's watching as well. I'm very grateful. I love when I have someone on the podcast that reminds me of what the authenticity journey is about, and you do that. You're a mom, a business owner, a very successful woman, career woman, and you have a beautiful soul, a beautiful heart. You are authentic, you are real, and you are a big leader right now. You can see that you get a lot of visibility. So I'm very grateful to have you on the podcast, and thank you so much.
Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you. Thank you both for having this and asking the questions and building a platform that celebrates the vulnerability and the hard topics that not everyone wants to hear or talk about. I think it's beautiful what you guys are creating. So thank you.
And thank you for being open. Thank you so much.